The 7th generation Hyundai Sonata has been in production since 2014. True, the car reached the Russian market only 3 years later, exactly after restyling. We sell cars exclusively of Korean assembly with 2 petrol 4s with a volume of 2.0 liters, 150 horsepower, and 2.4 liters, 188 horsepower. Only a 6-speed automatic transmission is combined with both engines. But it's not necessary to say that thanks to the Korean assembly, the Sonata's paintwork is distinguished by outstanding durability. On the example of other models of the concern, we can safely say that the cars produced in St. Petersburg in terms of quality do not differ from those made in South Korea. Control at all Hyundai plants, regardless of their geographical location, is the same. In fact, this is a hasty statement. After all, even the oldest specimens not so long ago turned 3 years old, and their body still pleases with its original gloss. But many owners are not satisfied with standard soundproofing. Dealers, in order to attract buyers, give them gifts in the form of a free installation of an additional shumka or applying anti-corrosion mastic to the wheel arches and bottom. Quite often, the client orders full body protection with gasket for doors and other hinged panels. By the way, there are a lot of complaints about the poorly closing hood and trunk lid. Moreover, adjusting the lock does not always help. It is often necessary to customize body parts. In the case of body repairs, also avoid Chinese parts. They fall into place very poorly during installation and quickly give into corrosion. In general, dealership masters recommend Korean-made hardware or high-quality, but not cheap, analogs of famous manufacturers. We hope that there will be nothing to change in the motors. After all, they are considered reliable. In the Sonata range, a couple of petrol 4s, which have been time-tested on other models of the concern, are 2.0-liter and 2.4-liter engines. Both of them are equipped with the chain and the drive of the gas distribution mechanism and can digest 90-second gasoline without consequences. The main thing is that it be of decent quality. Surrogate fuel adversely affects the durability of engines. For example, the use of counterfeit gasoline leads to clogging of the intake manifold, which will be known by floating engine speeds. At the same time, spark plugs and ignition coils, the fuel pump and injection nozzles suffer. It is important to monitor the condition of the catalyst. At the first sign of wear and tear, immediate action must be taken. Since the worn converter is destroyed inside, its ceramic honeycombs break up into small fractions, which are sucked back into the cylinders. These particles, like emery, act on the mirror of the cylinder block, which causes compression to drop. The jar of oil begins, and the engine needs to be overhauled. Our craftsmen have long been offering a service for cutting out a damaged catalyst, instead of which they install a so-called snag and reprogram the engine control unit. Although the car is still quite young and the failure statistics have not been fully formed, we can warn our readers on the example of other Hyundai models with the same engines. So, by 100,000 kilometers, valve cover gaskets, crankshaft and camshaft oil seals can leak. Idling sensors, a lambda probe and other electronic trifles in the form of relays and fuses fail. The generator and starter can easily withstand 150,000 kilometers, and the attachment belt is recommended to be updated every 60,000 kilometers. But as for the automatic transmission, we cannot give specific statistics of breakdowns. But not because we do not know, the reason is in its initial reliability. In addition, the Koreans acted wisely, leaving the classic hydromechanical, automatic in the Sonata's arsenal, because newfangled automated robots and dual-clutch gearboxes do not have a decent resource and require considerable costs and frequent repairs and maintenance. The Korean 6-speed automatic transmission proved to be the best, which does not save owners from regular oil changes every 60,000 to 90,000 kilometers, depending on operating conditions. However, the driving style also greatly affects the life expectancy of the transmission. If you tear the car at the start and famously break, slip in the snow or in the mud, be sure that in this mode the box will not last long. To prolong the life of CV joints, we recommend that you monitor their oil seals, which quickly become unusable due to mechanical damage, and no one has canceled natural wear. If the anthers begin to let small litter and dirt inside, then the grenades will not live long. And they are not cheap. But there is nothing to break in the suspension yet. After all, the oldest copies are not yet 3 years old, and during this time rare owners have traveled more than 100,000 kilometers. During this run, only consumables can wear out in the chassis, stabilizer struts or brake pads. And they, by the way, often step over this line. In general, we have not yet found any pitfalls in the chassis, and judging by its predecessor, which a priori was distinguished by a strong and inexpensive suspension, then the current Sonata should also be all right in this regard. However, driving style also affects the lifespan of chassis parts. Therefore, owners who think they are Schumachers will update suspension elements much more often than drivers who lack racing ambitions. However, it should be noted that the resource of parts depends not only on the driving style, but also on the initial quality of the components. So, the sedan has rather weak brake discs, whose performance characteristics noticeably deteriorate after several braking to the floor. Although, again, such complaints come mainly from gambling drivers, lovers of rocking. Electrical equipment does not upset with frequent failures and glitches. Skeptics will probably say that the car is still very young, and they will be partly right. However, by itself, the electrics of Hyundai cars are becoming more reliable every year, which is already statistics. True, Sonata owners often complain about the illogical operation of the wipers in automatic mode and failures of the multimedia system. Although all such problems are usually solved by factory settings of these functions. Summing up, we can state that the Sonata is by and large devoid of any problems whatsoever. Part of the reason is the relative youth of the model. Although we must pay tribute to the Korean company, which has recently greatly improved the quality and reliability of its machines. And the Sonata is by no means an exception.